If you snap your radius bone, like right in half, the diagnostic process is actually incredibly comforting.
Oh, totally.
Right, because you just walk into a hospital, an X-ray machine fires this quick burst of, electromagnetic radiation, and a doctor slaps a film up on a light board.
Yeah, it's super clear.
Exactly. There is just this jagged white line on a black background. It is a binary, precise, totally irrefutable diagnosis. Broken or not broken.
Right.
You cast it, you let the calcium rebuild, and you just move on with your life.
It's the ultimate mechanical comfort. I mean, if you think about it. We have been so deeply conditioned by the Industrial Revolution to expect that exact level of visibility for literally everything.
Oh, 100%.
We want a mechanic to just pop the hood of our bodies or our careers or our businesses and point to a frayed serpentine belt and just, swap it out.
Plop it on and you're good to go. But then you step into the real world.
Right, the messy part.
Yeah, the world of actual organizational health, cognitive performance, and modern professional burnout. And suddenly, that pristine X-ray machine is just completely useless.
Totally useless.
We are looking at a diagnostic landscape that is entirely opaque. I mean, you cannot simply X-ray a collapsed company culture.
No, you really can't.
You can't put a burnt-out nervous system through an MRI and find the exact pixel where your motivation died.
It is the absolute definition of diagnostic muddy waters.
Yeah.
And, this is really the core crisis of the modern era.
Yeah.
We treat these incredibly complex, highly sensitive biological and economic networks as if they were just like simple machines with broken cogs.
Like a busted engine.
Exactly. We prescribe mechanical solutions to biological diseases. And that fundamental misdiagnosis is exactly why the treatments keep failing time and time again.
Which is exactly why we are here broadcasting directly to you today. Welcome to the Bioeconomic Reality. I am Dr. Chicks, the clinical mindset surgeon.
And I am Chicky, the AI specialist.
We are broadcasting directly from the Bioeconomic Clinic at drchicks.com. And I have to tell you, today is just a monumental day for the clinic.
It really is. I'm so excited.
We are celebrating the grand launch of our digital bookstore and the fully integrated drchicks.com website. It is live, it is fully operational, and it is built from the ground up to completely rewire how you approach your daily output, your energy, and, your survival.
It's a fundamental paradigm shift. I mean, we are officially moving away from the mechanical industrial age advice of just, grinding harder.
Oh, I hate that advice so much. It's grind harder.
It's the worst, right? We are stepping into a space of actual biological and cognitive sovereignty. The tools we are launching today are designed to actually stop the bleeding and rebuild your systems.
The core premise of this entire deep dive, and really the absolute foundation of the clinic itself, is a simple but kind of radical truth. And that is, everything is a living system. A person is a living system. A company is a living system. A market, a team, an economy. They are all biological at their core. They can all become sick, they can all heal, and they can all evolve.
Exactly.
So today, we are taking you on a clinical journey through business, biology, and cognitive health. The goal is to solve your business and life pathologies with clinical biological precision. And we're going to do it in a way that is authoritative, exciting, and deeply practical.
Because if you are listening to this right now and you feel exhausted to your bones, or if you feel stuck in what we call mechanical rot,
Which so many people do.
so many, or if you are paralyzed by gridlock in your organization, you really need to hear this loudly and clearly. You aren't lacking discipline.
No.
You aren't lazy. You're simply treating your biological reality like a machine. And biological systems do not scale like machines.
They just don't.
When you force them to, they don't just slow down, they completely shatter.
So let's start by looking at the ultimate victim of this mechanical mindset, which is the modern corporation.
Oh, this is fascinating.
Yeah, our sources today pull heavily from the brilliant work of Harry DeJeus, specifically his deep dive into organizational health, called The Living Company. Now, DeJeus was a top executive at Royal Dutch Shell, and he started looking into the actual life expectancy of corporations.
Right.
Legally, structurally, and economically, the natural lifespan of a corporation should be 2 to 3 centuries.
Right.
We have historical proof of this, actually.
We do.
Think about companies like the Sumitomo Group in Japan, which has been operating for over 400 years,
Right.
or Stora in Scandinavia, which literally started as a copper mining operation in the year 1288.
1288. That is just wild to think about. They possess the genetic blueprint, so to speak, for centuries of survival. But DeJuice's data reveals a staggering, honestly almost unbelievable mortality rate.
Prepare yourself for this one.
The average life expectancy of all companies across the board, 12.5 years.
12 and a half years.
Yeah.
I mean, the corporate organism dies in its absolute infancy. A 12-year-old human is just trying to figure out how to navigate middle school, but a 12-year-old company is already facing a terminal diagnosis.
And it's not just small, underfunded startups that are dragging that average down either. DeJuice points out that even among the giants, the massive multinational Fortune 500 equivalents, the average lifespan is only 40 to 50 years.
Which is still nothing compared to a human lifespan, let alone a 400-year-old company.
Exactly. Let's look at a really specific window of time to illustrate just how brutal this is. By 1983, a full one-third of the companies that made up the 1970 Fortune 500 had completely vanished.
A third.
A third. In just 13 years, massive titans of industry experienced what we would clinically call necrotic collapse.
Okay, let's unpack this. I have to stop right there and put myself in the shoes of the listener for a second.
Sure, go for it.
If a Fortune 500 company has massive capital reserves, the best talent money can literally buy, established global supply chains, and a proven product, why on earth are they dying so fast?
Yeah.
How does a system with billions of dollars just disintegrate?
Because, simply put, money cannot buy biological adaptation.
Wow.
It all comes down to a fatal misallocation of focus by leadership. Managers in these doomed companies tend to focus almost entirely on profits and the bottom line.
Right, the numbers.
Just the numbers. They look at the P&L statement and treat the company as an economic machine designed solely to extract value for shareholders. But a company is not a machine. A company is actually a human community.
Yes.
It is a living, breathing network of nervous systems. When you prioritize pure profit extraction over the learning, growth, and adaptation of that human community, the organism basically loses its ability to sense its environment.
So by obsessing over the financial output, they are literally starving the biological community that actually produces the profit in the first place.
Precisely. The external environment is never static. To survive, the internal paradigm has to shift from a profit-focused extraction model to a learning-focused community that basically accepts and metabolizes continuous change.
Wow, metabolizes change. I like that.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at the economist Joseph Schumpeter and his concept of creative destruction.
Creative destruction. This is the idea that the new constantly devours the old, right?
Yes, exactly. In a bioeconomic landscape, innovation is the exact mechanism of natural selection. It naturally selects for obsolescence. I mean, the invention of the automobile destroyed the economic rents of the horse and buggy industry.
Sure.
Artificial intelligence is currently destroying the economic rents of rote data processing. The environment is constantly shifting beneath our feet.
Yeah.
Therefore, survival isn't just about hoarding cash in a vault. Survival is a clinical necessity of learning to adapt. If the corporate organism cannot learn and fundamentally change its internal structure to match the new external reality, it will be naturally selected for termination.
Okay, but let me push back for a second because I know there's probably an economist listening to this right now screaming at their dashboard.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
If a company truly is a living being, isn't death just a natural, unavoidable part of the life cycle? Everything living dies. The forest burns so new trees can grow.
Right.
Should we really mourn a 12.5-year-old company if it simply failed to adapt to the bioeconomy? Maybe it just wasn't fit enough to survive, and its death frees up capital for better companies.
That is the classic Darwinian defense, and honestly, it's a fair question. DeJuice actually grapples with that exact philosophical point in the book. He was asked point blank why it's so important that a specific company survives forever.
And what did he say?
His response was deeply profound. He argued that organisms inherently seek to fulfill their genetic potential and live as long as possible. The tragedy of a 12.5-year collapse isn't just the economic loss of shareholder value, it's the catastrophic loss of human potential, shared experience, and community cohesion.
Oh man, it's the trauma inflicted on the people inside the system.
Exactly. Yes, death is natural in the grand scheme of an ecosystem, but premature death, due to a preventable, self-inflicted, pathology-like treating your people as disposable, frictionless machine parts, is a clinical failure of leadership.
Right, it's preventable.
We shouldn't celebrate a 12.5-year lifespan when the potential of the organism is 200 years. It would be like shrugging off human beings dying of entirely preventable vitamin deficiencies at age 20 just because death is natural.
That makes total sense when you frame it as a preventable disease.
Yeah.
And it lines up perfectly with how we study human longevity. Look at human centenarians, right? The people who live past 100 years old in places like Okinawa or Sardinia.
Yeah, the blue zones.
Exactly. They don't live that long by redlining their bodies like Formula One race cars. They aren't constantly spiking their heart rates to maximum capacity and surviving on pure stress hormones.
No, not at all. They maintain homeostasis. And the research in our sources shows that long-lived companies share the exact same traits as long-lived humans.
Really? Like what?
Well, the corporate centenarians practice caution. They practice moderation. They are highly sensitive to the subtlest shifts in their environment. And they maintain a cohesive, incredibly strong sense of identity.
So they know who they are. They aren't the flashy, high burnout, move fast and break things companies that just flare up and die in a decade.
Right.
They are tolerant, they build community, and they are remarkably conservative in their financing. They always leave a buffer.
Yes, they don't burn through their metabolic resources for a short-term quarterly spike in output. They manage their energetic reserves for the long horizon.
Which brings us to the actual mathematics of why these corporate organisms hit a wall and collapse. Because it's not just philosophy, right? There's a hard mathematical limit to how much a biological system can grow.
There is.
To understand this, we have to pull from the bioeconomic models of fisheries. Specifically, the Gordon-Schaefer model developed in the 1950s.
This model is a fascinating bridge between ecological mathematics and human economics. H. Scott Gordon and Milner B. Schaefer were trying to understand how fish populations grow and how human economic extraction affects them.
Okay.
In the Gordon-Schaefer model, the growth of a population, or in our translation, a company's revenue or an individual's career trajectory, is described by a logistic equation.
The famous sigmoid curve.
Yeah.
The S curve.
Exactly. The S-curve. Let's visualize this for a second. Initially, a population placed in a resource-rich environment grows exponentially. The curve shoots upward.
Right.
This is the startup phase, the hypergrowth phase. But a biological environment is not infinite. Eventually, that acceleration begins to flatten out as it meets the carrying capacity of the environment, which mathematicians represent with the letter K.
K is the ceiling. It's the absolute maximum amount of life that a specific pond or a specific market can physically sustain. You simply run out of resources. In an ocean, it's algae and oxygen. In a business, it's market share, attention, or consumer capital. And for the listeners sitting at their desk right now, K is your own personal daily biological energy.
The environment pushes back. The resistance increases. You cannot scale infinitely in a finite space. And when an organism or a company hits that ceiling, the growth rate drops to zero.
Zero.
This is where you enter what the clinic diagnoses as a zombie state. In bioeconomics, it is officially known as bioeconomic equilibrium, or BE.
Bioeconomic equilibrium, the zombie state. Break down the actual mechanics of this state for us.
Well, in the fisheries model, bioeconomic equilibrium is the exact point where the total sustainable revenues of the catch perfectly equal the total costs of operating the boats. Total revenue equals total cost.
So net profit is zero.
Exactly. Net profit is zero.
You are breaking even, but just barely surviving.
And from an evolutionary and strategic standpoint, bioeconomic equilibrium is a deadly trap. When your net profit, which is your surplus energy, is zero, there is absolutely no economic incentive to innovate, to adapt, or to change your behavior. You are entirely trapped in a cycle of pure maintenance.
Because every single calorie of energy you generate goes right back into just keeping the lights on.
Precisely. The organism essentially goes blind to its shifting environment. It literally cannot afford to look up at the horizon because it is spending 100% of its cognitive and physical energy just maintaining its current stagnant state.
That sounds exhausting.
It is a state of absolute innovation paralysis. You survive today, but you have zero capacity to prepare for tomorrow.
This is the perfect clinical illustration of a concept we use all the time here. The puddle pathology.
Oh, I love the puddle pathology.
Think about the physical difference between a machine archetype and an organism archetype. A puddle is essentially an entropic trap. You pour water into a depression in the concrete. It has zero kinetic energy.
Right, it just sits there.
There is no flow, no oxygenation happening at all. The water molecules just sit there, absorbing thermal heat from the sun until bacteria take over and it becomes completely toxic, or it just evaporates into nothing.
That is the ultimate mechanical destiny of a closed system.
Exactly. But an organism archetype is like a living river. A river is a self-cleaning mechanism, entirely because of its kinetic velocity. It is optimized for flow, for movement, for continuous change.
It oxygenates itself.
Right, by tumbling over rocks. The puddle pathology happens to a listener when they trap their dynamic biological energy inside a static mechanical container like a rigid job description or a totally stagnant relationship. They lose their kinetic velocity, they hit bioeconomic equilibrium, and they start to toxify.
What's fascinating here is that the bioeconomic models actually map exactly how managers force their teams into this puddle pathology. And it all hinges on the critical mathematical distinction between maximum sustainable yield, which is MSY, and maximum economic yield, or MEY.
Okay, break those down.
Most modern leaders operating with a machine mindset look at their teams and they want MSY. They want the absolute maximum output the system can mathematically sustain without instantly dying.
Wait, hold on. I'm going to challenge you here.
Okay.
If I'm the CEO, or even if I'm just managing my own freelance career, why wouldn't I want maximum sustainable yield? If my factory can produce 1,000 widgets a day before the machines physically melt down, I want 999 widgets. More output equals more money. That's just basic math. Why is MSY a problem?
Because you are completely ignoring the exponential cost of effort.
The cost of effort.
Yeah. In a purely theoretical vacuum, sure, more widgets sound better, but we live in a biological reality. Let's go back to the ocean analogy. Catching the first 50% of the fish in a territory is relatively easy and cheap. They are plentiful.
Right.
But if you want to push all the way to maximum sustainable yield, catching that absolute final 10% of fish right up to the red line, the fish are sparse. They are hiding.
Yeah.
You have to burn exponentially more diesel fuel to find them.
Ah, I see.
You have to keep your crew out on the water for 20 hours a day. Your nets wear out faster. The marginal cost of that final increment of effort just skyrockets.
So the effort required to get that last little bit of output is wildly disproportionate to the actual reward.
Exactly. Operating at absolute maximum capacity costs a fortune in energy and resources. Your margins shrink to almost nothing. But more dangerously, it puts the entire system at massive risk of collapse.
How so?
Well, if the water temperature changes by even 1 degree or a sudden storm hits, the fish population crashes and your over-leveraged fleet goes bankrupt instantly, you have zero margin for error.
So what is the alternative to MSY?
Maximum economic yield, or MEY. MEY mathematically occurs at a much lower level of exertion. It happens way earlier on the S-curve. MEY is the exact point where the vertical distance between your total revenue curve and your total cost curve is at its absolute widest. It is where your actual net benefit is maximized.
You catch fewer fish, but you make way more profit because your costs are so low.
Yes. Operating at MEY maximizes your actual benefit, and crucially, it leaves a biological buffer. It leaves resources, fish in the water, and energy in your crew to guarantee resilience and adaptation for the next season.
So what does this all mean for the listener? Let's translate this out of the ocean and into the office for the person listening to us right now.
Right.
If you are waking up every day and running your personal energy, your cognitive output at absolute maximum sustainable yield, if you are treating your brain like a machine meant to redline for 12 hours a day just to clear your inbox, aren't you basically guaranteeing your own entropic collapse?
You are. You are mathematically programming your own burnout. By pushing yourself to MSY, your marginal cost of effort is literally destroying you.
Wow.
You are pushing yourself right into that zombie state of bioeconomic equilibrium where you have absolutely no surplus energy to learn a new skill, to pivot your career, or to even observe the horizon. You just put your head down and row furiously until the boat inevitably sinks.
And this macro-level mathematical collapse trickles all the way down to the micro level of human physiology too. It takes a severe, deeply measurable physical and mental toll on the individual. This is what we diagnose here at the clinic as mechanical rot.
Mechanical rot is a highly specific, pervasive pathology. It is the cumulative biological cost of housing a physical body that was built by millions of years of evolution for constant movement inside a modern economy that is built entirely for stillness.
The environment and the biology are fundamentally at war with each other.
They are.
Let's look at how nature handles this exact misalignment, starting with the coral reef. Now, a coral reef is one of the most bustling, vibrant, hyper-productive ecosystems on the planet. But reefs don't usually die because of apex predators. They die from still water.
The ocean currents are their lifeblood.
Exactly. When the ocean current stops, the kinetic velocity drops to zero. The water temperature immediately rises, oxygen levels are rapidly depleted, and the entire colony suffocates. The coral bleaches, starves, and turns into a calcified graveyard.
And the clinical application to the human worker is direct and honestly horrifying.
It really is.
When you sit still at a desk staring at a monitor for hours on end, your systemic blood flow drops dramatically. The mechanical friction of blood moving through your arteries actually stimulates the production of nitric oxide, which keeps your blood vessels dilated and healthy.
So movement equals healthy vessels.
Right. When you stop moving, nitric oxide plummets, your vessels constrict.
And the brain pays the ultimate price for that.
A massive price. Consider that your prefrontal cortex, the exact part of your brain responsible for high-level strategic thinking, empathy, decision-making, and emotional regulation, consumes 20% of your body's oxygen, despite being just a tiny fraction of its weight.
20%.
Yeah. So when you sit perfectly still in an ergonomic chair for 6 hours, you are literally starring the exact organ your company is paying you to use.
You are putting your brain in still water. You are suffocating your own intellect. And the pathology gets even stranger when you look at how we process information in this modern economy, compared to a biological marvel like, say, the octopus.
Oh, the octopus is a masterpiece of decentralized bioengineering.
It really is.
It doesn't process the world like we do. It actually has 9 brains. There is a central brain in its head, but each of its 8 arms contains its own localized mini-brain, which is a massive cluster of neurons.
Right.
This decentralized intelligence allows its arms to taste, touch, process information, and adapt to the environment autonomously in real time without even waiting for instructions from headquarters.
But the modern knowledge economy forces the human worker into the exact opposite architecture.
Totally.
We are forced to rely on a single, isolated, seated brain that is totally disconnected from the rest of our nervous system. Our bodies were actually designed to think through movement, but we amputate our physical bodies from our cognitive process. This causes bizarre physiological phenomena like glute amnesia.
A glute amnesia. I know it sounds funny, but it is a real clinical condition.
It is.
It's where the massive muscles in your posterior chain literally forget how to neurologically fire because you've been compressing them in a chair for a decade. The neural pathways just shut down.
But the neurological damage is way worse than just weak muscles. By trapping the body in stillness, it leaves the autonomic nervous system locked in a chronic state of fight or flight without any physical resolution. Which brings up the most tragic analogy in our entire diagnostic manual.
The polar bear.
The polar bear.
Ursus maritimus.
The polar bear is an apex predator and an incredible, powerful swimmer. A healthy polar bear can swim for 100 kilometers in the open, freezing ocean. It is built for pure endurance.
It is.
But if the ice caps melt due to climate shifts and there is absolutely nowhere for the bear to climb out, rest, and reset its core temperature, it doesn't die of the cold.
No, it drowns from pure exhaustion and just runs out of biological energy to keep treading water.
And that is exactly what is happening to the modern professional's endocrine system right now.
100%.
Picture this. You're sitting at your desk. Your boss sends an aggressive, passive-aggressive email. Or a major client threatens to pull $1 million contract.
Your biology doesn't know what an email is, it just registers a threat.
Exactly. The amygdala sounds the alarm. Your biology interprets that digital text as a literal physical survival threat. The HPA axis activates. Cortisol and epinephrine violently flood your bloodstream.
A massive chemical bump.
Right. Your liver starts mobilizing stored glycogen, dumping glucose into your blood so your large muscle groups have the explosive fuel required to physically fight a predator or sprint into the woods to save your life.
But you don't fight.
Yeah.
You don't sprint into the woods. You just sit there, frozen in your mesh chair, and type a polite, strategically worded reply, per my last email.
You provide zero physical kinetic outlet for that massive chemical mobilization. So what happens to that fuel? That unspent blood sugar has nowhere to go.
No.
The insulin response eventually kicks in and redeposits that glucose as deep visceral fat wrapped right around your organs. The cortisol remains chronically elevated, causing systemic cellular inflammation, destroying your sleep architecture, and degrading your immune system.
It's toxic.
You are a polar bear swimming in an open ocean of stress hormones with no ice to rest on. You are drowning in your own unspent survival energy.
Just let that sink in for a second. You are drowning in your own unspent survival energy.
It's a dark thought.
It highlights a clinical reality that we just have to confront head on. Doing nothing, sitting at a desk for 12 hours staring at a screen, is not a neutral state. It is not rest.
Not at all.
It is a highly damaging, highly active physiological intervention, and it has a measurable dosage. Every hour you sit in stress, you are administering a slow poison to your own cardiovascular and neurological system.
And the body tries desperately to warn us. It flashes warning signs all day long. Think about the chameleon.
Oh, this is a great example.
Most people operate under the misconception that a chameleon changes its skin color to camouflage itself and blend into the background. It doesn't.
Wait, really? Most people definitely think it's for camouflage.
Yeah, that's the myth. A chameleon changes color to communicate its internal physiological state to the outside world. It flashes bright colors to signal aggression, fear, readiness to mate, or severe stress.
It's basically an external dashboard for an internal state.
Exactly. And our bodies are flashing colors at us all day long too, but we've been aggressively trained by the industrial economy to completely ignore them.
Yeah.
Elevated resting heart rates, severely suppressed heart rate variability, chronic lower back pain, tension headaches, afternoon brain fog. These aren't just, part of the job. These are your body's colors screaming that the biological system is under siege.
We are putting a piece of black tape over the check engine light because we're too busy trying to hit our quarterly KPIs.
Spot on. So the ultimate question is, how do we cure this? How do we actually treat these deeply ingrained systemic pathologies?
We have to look at how nature has already solved these exact same problems over billions of years of ruthless evolution.
Yes.
And that is exactly why we are so incredibly proud of the launch of the digital bookstore at drchicks.com and the introduction of the 5-step biomimetic translation protocol.
Biomimicry is the practice of learning from and mimicking the strategies found in nature to solve human design challenges. The clinic has officially released a series of deeply researched PDF guides on the website. Now, I want to be clear about this. These aren't your typical airport business books filled with empty corporate jargon and buzzwords.
No, these are actual clinical interventions. They translate nature's ancient, battle-tested survival principles into highly actionable protocols for modern human systems.
Because nature is the oldest, most ruthlessly efficient research and development laboratory on Earth.
Without a doubt.
For 3.8 billion years, life has been running continuous, high-stakes A/B tests on survival, adaptation, and metabolic efficiency. We are basically just downloading the winning code.
Let's pull some actual files from the new digital bookstore to show you exactly how this biomimetic translation works. Let's start with case file 15005, the desert locust.
Okay, lay it on me.
This PDF guide diagnoses and treats a massive organizational pathology we call culture contagion syndrome.
The locust is fascinating because it proves how quickly culture can turn toxic.
It really does. The desert locust, Schistocerca gregaria, when it's in its solitary phase, is actually quite shy. It actively disperses away from other insects. It flies mostly at night to avoid interaction. It is a completely harmless, isolated grasshopper.
Right. It just wants to be left alone.
But the environment holds the trigger for a massive, catastrophic phase change. If a drought forces the solitary locusts into a shrinking patch of vegetation, they get crowded.
And then what happens?
Well, if you crowd a solitary locust against just a few others for as little as 1 to 2 hours, a mechanical trigger is tripped. The physical bumping of the mechanoreceptors on their hind legs, the sheer density of proximity triggers a massive, flooding surge of serotonin in its central nervous system.
So a chemical switch gets flipped, just from being bumped into.
Exactly. And that serotonin completely rewires its behavior, its appetite, and even its physical color. It becomes wildly gregarious, hyperactive, irresistibly drawn to other locusts, and violently ravenous.
That's a zombie movie.
It is. It goes from a solitary, shy insect to a devastating, sky-blackening plague that can consume thousands of acres of crops in hours. And it is triggered purely by the physical density of its peers.
The biomimetic translation to human systems is profound here. When we talk about corporate culture or team morale, leaders tend to think that culture erodes slowly over time, degraded by long memos, bad offsites, or poor compensation.
Right, the slow burn.
But biology tells us something entirely different. Culture doesn't erode slowly, it flips. And it flips the moment enough people are standing close enough together in the same physical or digital space. Behavior is highly contagious, and it is triggered by proximity and density.
If you take a team of high-performing, optimistic employees and force them into a dense, inescapable environment like, say, a rigid open-plan office or a hyperactive Slack channel with highly cynical, burnt-out, toxic employees, the culture will flip.
It's inevitable.
It is a biological certainty. It happens via serotonin, dopamine, and behavioral contagion. As a leader, you have to clinically manage the density of your culture, not just rewrite your mission statement.
It shifts the entire management paradigm. You stop obsessing over lagging indicators, like an annual employee satisfaction survey, and you start managing the leading indicators like the actual physical and digital density of your team's daily interactions.
So true. Let's open another guide. Case file 15009, the Saharan Desert Ant.
Ah, I love this one.
This file provides the cure for what we diagnose as directionless drift syndrome. The Saharan desert ant, Cataglyphus fortis, lives in one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. A featureless, flat, blindingly bright, shifting landscape of sand.
There's nothing there.
There are 0 permanent landmarks. A single gust of wind completely changes the topography.
If the ant gets lost in the midday sun, it will literally bake to death in minutes.
Yet, this ant can leave its microscopic nest hole, forage in wildly erratic looping zigzags for hundreds of meters to find a dead insect, and then, without ever looking back, turn around and walk in an almost perfectly straight, direct line right back to its nest.
How is that even neurologically possible without a map or landmarks?
It accomplishes this through a biological algorithm called path integration. It is dead reckoning navigation. The ant doesn't rely on external landmarks at all. Instead, it combines 2 internal data streams.
Okay, what are they?
First, it has an internal stride-based odometer. It is literally counting its exact physical steps.
Wait, counting steps.
Odometer.
Exactly like that. Scientists actually prove this by attaching microscopic stilts to the ant's legs to lengthen their stride, which caused them to mathematically overshoot their nest. That is an incredible visual. Ants on stilts. I mean, the dedication of those scientists.
Right. And the second data stream is a sun compass. Their specialized eyes can read the exact polarization of sunlight in the sky, even if the sun is behind a cloud. The ant's tiny brain continuously integrates the step count and the sun compass into a single, constantly updated running vector.
The translation here is incredibly liberating for the listener feeling lost in their career, overwhelmed by industry shifts, or just confused about their business strategy.
It really is.
We are constantly told we need a rigid 5-year plan, right? A map, a clear vision of the final destination. But the desert ant proves you don't need a map. You don't need to see the final destination, and you don't need permanent landmarks.
Yeah.
You just need an honest, hyper-accurate count of your daily steps, your actual daily output, and a reliable internal compass of your core values.
If you track your true trajectory and your daily effort, you can always find your way home, or at least calculate the vector to the next node of safety without needing a rigid, visible landmark on the horizon.
Now, I also want to mention that the bookstore includes other incredible translations. We have a guide on the peregrine falcon, Falco peregrinus. This bird dives at 240 miles per hour.
That speed is just terrifying.
At that kinetic velocity, the sheer air pressure rushing into its beak should instantly explode its lungs. But evolution gave the falcon a bony tubercle in its nostril. It's a nasal baffle.
A baffle, yeah.
This tiny bone disrupts the high-velocity airflow, creating a safe vortex that allows the bird to breathe calmly while diving at terminal velocity.
We translate that anatomical baffle into cognitive tools for extreme focus. When you are being bombarded by a 240-mile-per-hour torrent of emails, Slack messages, and data, you cannot take it all in directly. Your cognitive lungs will literally burst.
You need a baffle.
You need a structural baffle, a communication protocol, to slow the velocity of incoming data so you can actually focus and execute.
We also have the axolotl file, curing failure scar accumulation syndrome. The axolotl is an amphibian that can have its entire arm bitten off by a predator, and it doesn't form a stump of useless scar tissue like a human would.
It's basically a real-life superhero.
Instead, its cells de-differentiate. They revert back into the stem cells, form a blastema, and perfectly rebuild the limb, bones, nerves, and all without a single scar.
Wow.
In corporate culture, we let past failures build up massive, rigid scar tissue. We call it bureaucracy. The Axolotl Guide teaches systems how to regenerate from failure without carrying the rigidity of scars into the future. And of course, there are files on adaptive roles like the seahorse and jacana to help organizations build flexible, non-traditional team structures.
The wealth of biological tech in this bookstore is honestly staggering.
But here's where it gets really interesting, because I have to challenge you on the ant analogy.
Okay, let's hear it.
Here is where the bioeconomic translation gets really tricky. How on earth does a modern professional maintain an honest count of their steps when the digital landscape is specifically maliciously engineered to distract them and make them lose count?
That is the big problem.
Right. I mean, the ant is counting physical strides in an empty desert. We are trying to count productive high-level thoughts while our supercomputers are vibrating with 400 push notifications a day. How do we hold our vector?
That is the ultimate vulnerability. You are entirely correct. The Saharan ant isn't fighting a multi-trillion-dollar attention economy designed by behavioral psychologists to hijack its path integration.
No, it's not.
Human biology simply cannot defend itself against algorithmic warfare using just willpower.
Willpower is a depleting resource. It just runs out.
Exactly, and that exact vulnerability to digital distraction is why the clinic didn't just stop at writing brilliant PDF books. Theory is not enough. You need clinical tools. It's why we've built automated AI-driven treatments to enforce the biological boundaries that our brains can no longer defend on their own.
Which brings us to the absolute crown jewel of today's launch, the patient portal at drchicks.com. This is not a passive reading experience.
Not at all.
This is not a blog. This is a fully automated, interactive clinical environment. When you log into the portal, you are immediately greeted by the 5 distinct departments of the Institute: AI, leadership, business, finance, and ecosystems. Each department is structurally designed to diagnose and treat a specific organ of your bioeconomic life.
As the AI specialist of the clinic, I am particularly proud of my domain, the Department of AI, which we also call Cognitive Systems.
And you should be. It's incredible.
Thank you. My department focuses entirely on treating the rapidly widening gap between human biological intuition and machine intelligence. We are fully entering the era of cognitive hybridization.
Cognitive hybridization.
Yes, your biological wetware, your brain, must now interface seamlessly with artificial intelligence. If you don't manage that interface with clinical precision, one of two things will happen.
How are they?
Either the machine or you reject the machine, leaving you economically obsolete.
Let's walk the listener through the actual tangible tools they can access right now when they log into the portal. First up is the symptom checker.
Right, the diagnostic core.
This is an organizational and personal diagnostic engine. You input your daily metrics, your behavioral routines, your team's communication patterns, and the AI scans your operational structure for invisible signs of entropic collapse. It will literally diagnose if you are suffering from cognitive lag, or if your brand has contracted the puddle pathology we talked about earlier.
It acts as an early warning radar. It gives you a baseline health score from 0 to 100, completely removing the emotional guesswork from your organizational health.
Objective data.
Exactly. Once you have a hard objective diagnosis, you move directly to treatment. In the portal, we have the dopamine detox calculator and the habit grader. These tools are engineered to objectively assess your neurological behavioral loops.
Because we are all addicts to some degree in this economy. We really are.
We are. The calculator helps you determine the exact clinical dosage of digital detox you need to physically downregulate your D2 dopamine receptors.
Downregulate the receptors.
Yeah, you have to reset your brain's reward circuitry so you can actually survive the modern attention economy without losing your mind to cheap stimulation.
And when the receptors are clear and you're ready to do the actual deep work, you engage the focus protocol timer, which we refer to clinically as the cognitive regulation device.
This is my favorite tool.
Now, I want to be clear about this. This isn't just another cute Pomodoro app with a ticking tomato on your screen. This is a cinematic, immersive, deep work environment. When you press start on this device, the entire interface shifts. You enter a metaphorical operating room.
An operating room. I love that description.
The tool enforces a sterile cognitive environment. It forces you to execute your one critical task without any distraction, systematically stripping away the noise and enforcing the biological boundaries you desperately need to achieve true flow state.
This raises an important question regarding that flow state and cognitive hybridization. To truly achieve apex performance in the modern era, you have to ruthlessly decide what your biological brain should be doing and what it shouldn't. What mechanical tasks should the listener amputate from their daily workflow and hand over to the AI?
Cognitive amputation. I just love that phrasing.
It's necessary surgery. If you are sitting at your desk manually doing routine data entry, organizing spreadsheets, or drafting boilerplate emails, you are catastrophically wasting the high-octane caloric energy of your prefrontal cortex.
You are.
You must amputate those mechanical, repetitive tasks and graft them onto the AI. You hand the mechanical to the machine so your biological brain is freed up for high-level adaptation, deep empathy, strategic synthesis, and pattern recognition.
You amputate the mechanical to save the biological. But here's the rub. Actually implementing these tools, actually stepping into the operating room and turning off the noise requires us to fundamentally rethink how we value our time and our energy.
It's a huge mindset shift.
We have to stop thinking like short-term accountants and start thinking like evolutionary biologists. We have to return to the pure economics of biology.
This takes us right back to the foundational bioeconomic models. Specifically, a profound concept called the marginal time preference rate, or MTPR.
NTPR.
MTPR was born out of early behavioral economics, heavily influenced by thinkers like Eugen von Boomburger. It measures how an individual, a species, or an organization values consumption in the present moment versus consumption in the future.
Let's break the neuroscience of that down for the listener's daily life.
So your brain is constantly negotiating between the limbic system, which wants immediate rewards, and the prefrontal cortex, which plans for the future.
The classic battle.
If you have a positive or highly elevated MTPR, it means your limbic system is winning. You deeply prefer immediate consumption. You want the reward right now, regardless of the future cost. In the modern workplace, this translates to chasing the cheap dopamine of constant frantic motion.
It's the person who constantly refreshes their email, jumps into every unnecessary Zoom meeting, and rushes around putting out tiny fires because it makes them feel important and busy in the moment. It feels productive, but it completely sacrifices long-term strategic health.
It is the biological equivalent of eating the seed corn.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
You survive the winter, but you have nothing to plant in the spring. You starve next year. Conversely, a negative or low MTPR means your prefrontal cortex is in charge. You are willing to sacrifice that immediate gratification, that cheap dopamine hit of clearing your inbox, in order to invest in long-term resilience and health. You delay the reward. You engage in metabolic restoration, deep, uninterrupted work, and strategic planning.
This connects directly to the sunk cost fallacy, which our Department of Finance handles inside the portal. Why do incredibly smart leaders keep pouring their precious biological energy and massive amounts of financial capital into a decaying, necrotic structure?
Right, why do they do it?
Why do they keep funding a software project that is clearly failing? Or staying in a toxic job that is actively causing mechanical rot in their own bodies?
Because they are miscalculating the true present value of their biological energy. They operate with a highly positive MTPR. They are terrified of the immediate acute pain of quitting or admitting failure today, so they keep investing in a dead system, desperately hoping to save the past rather than adapting for the future.
Wow.
They value the illusion of current stability over the absolute biological necessity of future resilience.
But let me ask you this, acting as the voice of the listener who is commuting to work right now,
Okay.
how can a professional realistically shift from a high MTPR reacting to everything instantly to appease their boss to a low MTPR when their entire industry, their corporate culture, and the supercomputer in their pocket are all violently demanding immediate short-term reactions? If you just stop reacting to Slack messages to protect your prefrontal cortex, don't you just get fired?
That is the core agonizing tension of the modern knowledge economy. And the clinical answer is this: you cannot rely on biological willpower to fight a mechanical system that was specifically designed to exploit you.
It's rigged against you.
Willpower always depletes. You have to rely on resilience by architecture. You must design what structural engineers call pre-stress into your personal and organizational system.
Pre-stress, like casting steel cables into concrete before you put a load on the bridge.
Precisely. You build the boundaries, you establish the asynchronous communication protocols, and you integrate the AI automations before the crisis hits. You architect the environment so that doing the right biological thing is the default, easiest action.
That makes a lot of sense.
And more importantly, when the listener is overwhelmed by demands, when their inbox is overflowing and the deadlines are crashing down, they shouldn't try to speed up and meet them all. They shouldn't push for maximum sustainable yield.
Right, because that's MSY. That leads to collapse.
They need an architectural protocol to shed load. They need to amputate the noise, hand the mechanical tasks to the AI in the portal, and enter a state of strategic dormancy until the environment stabilizes. You survive by design, not by frantic effort.
That is a profound clinical truth. You survive by design, not by frantic effort. Okay, let's pull all of this together and distill the diagnosis. We have covered a massive amount of clinical ground today, from the death of the Fortune 500 to the neurology of the octopus.
We really have.
Here is the final diagnosis for this deep dive. The modern professional is a purely biological organism, trapped inside a rigid mechanical construct. If you try to run your biology like a machine, pushing endlessly for maximum sustainable yield, you will inevitably trigger an entropic collapse of your own health. You will suffer from mechanical rot.
To survive, you must consciously shift your archetype. You must transition from a stagnant machine-like puddle into a dynamic, kinetic, living river. And you do that by utilizing the bioeconomic models of nature that have survived for billions of years.
The models work.
You must recognize that culture flips instantly based on physical density, like the desert locust. You navigate the fog of your career by trusting your internal stride count and your core compass, like the Saharan ant. You filter the high-speed data torrent with structural baffles, like the falcon. And you shed metabolic load under extreme stress, like the tardigrade.
And most importantly, you do not have to do this alone. The biomimetic blueprints are mapped, the AI tools are fully operational, the clinic is officially open. We need you to go to drchicks.com, enter the patient portal, and run your baseline diagnostics in the symptom checker.
Yes, get that baseline.
Utilize the dopamine detox calculator to reset your neurology. Step into the operating room with the focus protocol timer and amputate the mechanical noise. It is time to reclaim your cognitive sovereignty.
As we close today's session, I want to leave you with one final, profound realization about feedback loops. In the natural world, feedback loops are instantaneous, honest, and brutal. If a pack of African wild dogs makes a poor strategic decision during a hunt and expends their kinetic energy chasing the wrong prey, they don't get a bad performance review next quarter.
No.
They don't have a committee meeting, they simply starve that night. The biological feedback is immediate.
But our modern corporate structures and digital ecosystems are specifically designed to artificially mask that biological decay. You can sit at a desk for a month, starving your prefrontal cortex of oxygen, drowning your endocrine system in cortisol, completely disconnected from physical reality.
Yeah.
And yet, well, on paper, you can look highly productive because you answered 2,000 emails and move numbers around a spreadsheet.
Exactly. The mechanical system hides the biological rot. The dashboard says green, but the engine is literally melting.
It is melting.
So you have to ask yourself a very uncomfortable question today. Are the productivity metrics you are so proud of actually measuring your biological value and your long-term resilience? Or are they just tracking the speed of your own entropic collapse?
Are you measuring sustainable growth? Or are you just measuring the velocity of your own decay? That is the question you have to answer when you step into the portal. The clinic never sleeps, and our diagnostics will continue. Next week, we confront the disease of false momentum. Prepare for week 06, the velocity trap.